Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Lou. You are listening to the Raptors Reaction Podcast, presented by Betway for all your sports betting activities. Hit the QR code that you see here on the screen, or follow the link that you see in the description of the podcast episode. We are going live as always on YouTube and also now on Twitter as well. So appreciate everyone for hanging in here and staying up late on a Friday as the Raptors go into OKC and come out with the most predictable result of all time. I thought it was actually a little I saw the I saw the line that that was put out there. The line for this game was OKC minus 18.5, which means Vegas was like, this game is not going to be close, and basically we're going to see if the Raptors can keep it within 19. And yeah, I mean, look, it wasn't a blowout the whole way through. Can I say that at least? But still, you can definitely see OKC's quality shining through. Toronto actually started the game really hot from three, and that was able to keep them in the game in response to OKC, who were able to get a bucket whenever they wanted to, and they were able to get to the line like a million times. There were so many stoppages in this game that, quite frankly, kind of made it even more painful as the Raptors continue to slide and whatever. Like, we know the Raptors are not on par with OKC, even on a night when they don't have a Lou Dort, for example. They still can play hellacious defense. No Case and Wallace as well. Those are all really, really strong defenders, and especially when they get Chet Holmgren back in the lineup, they were really able to shut down most areas of the paint. And on the perimeter, the Raptors were able to at least hit the threes in the first half. Second half, the Raptors weren't able to drop them at the same rate. But ultimately, the Raptors played hard. They scrapped, and they're just not in the same tier as OKC. Like, it's not anything necessarily to be ashamed of. Obviously, Toronto has injuries of their own, with RJ Barrett continuing to miss time with the concussion, and also Jakob Poeltl missing time with the hip pointer. So the Raptors are obviously going to struggle when you don't have those two very, very vital pieces. Two of the best Raptors this season are those two players, and you didn't have those guys tonight. So I'm not even trying to make excuses. I'm just trying to say that it is what it is. You know what I mean? We weren't ever expecting something better than this. I think a couple things to note from this game. I want to start with the most important, and then maybe finish with the most positive, because I think more than anything else, okay, you don't have two of your starting five, but you still do have IQ and Scotty, and you would have liked at least to seen some kind of ability to sort of match OKC's offensive output. Granted, and I'll say this, OKC's defense is way better than Toronto's defense, so you know what I mean. But nevertheless, it felt like in the first half the Raptors were really ill-equipped in terms of their lead players versus OKC's lead players. I mean, look, Shea's an MVP candidate, as long as he's in his prime. I mean, the only reason he's not the runaway favorite for MVP is that Nikola Jokic exists, and he's got literally impossible stats to match. But basically, whenever Shea wanted a bucket, whether that's a step back three, whether it's a pull up, whether it's going to the basket, drawing fouls at will, he's able to get that. But also you get the offense from Jalen Williams, who was also startlingly good as well. And obviously he is a first-time All-Star this year. Congrats to him. It's well-deserved, and it's probably the first of many for Jalen Williams, who actually finished this game outscoring Shea with 27 points and 25 for Shea. You would have just liked to seen maybe not comparable, but at least some sort of back and forth affair. And I think with Scotty, it's weird because this game he actually balanced out and ended up having a good offensive night. On the whole, he's been struggling of late. The last 3 games here, he's been really, really off with the shooting. But he started this game 1 for 8. And at one point it was like, okay, is this going to be another one of those continuations? He really struggled against Memphis. He really struggled against New York. Is it going to be a situation where, he's not going to impact the game? Now, that was 1 of 8, and it was towards the end of the first half. But he started getting it going by knocking down 2 threes in quick succession just at the end of the first half. Then he came out the third quarter with another 3 and knocked another 3 later on too. So it was great to see him find the 3 ball. I mean, he's been really struggling from 3. I think he's below 30% from 3 on the season now. But 4 of 6 from deep tonight. I think for me, it was actually more of the stuff going to the basket that felt a little bit more worrisome. Once again, I'm mentioning that every team scouting report now has it in there that Scotty wants to take 2 hard dribbles, fake over one shoulder, and turn over the other shoulder for the mid-range pull-up. And it really felt like OKC was keying in really well on that. And it almost made it like a little bit too predictable as to, what he wanted to do. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of like Pascal with the spin move back in the day. It was like, where he kind of wants to go. And so it's a little bit easier for a smart defense like OKC with really good coaching and really, just great team defense in general to sort of anticipate and sit on that move. At that point, it's up to, the player to sort of find counters or be able to read the defense and sort of like, adjust to that. I don't have any issues with Scotty's reading up the plays. He's obviously a very good passer and he certainly knows what to do. But like I like Pascal now. People can't just sit on the spin move because, he's just been a 3-level scorer this season. Pascal was awesome, by the way. I don't know if anyone saw Pacers Clippers the other night, but they had like a 24-point turnaround and Pascal led them with 33 points and he was like 12 of 14 at one point. Crazy good. But my point is that, like, you develop other ways to score and you develop other counters and stuff like that. And it felt like, in the first half, it was a continuation for Scotty, at least, of like, just like a inventiveness of how to score just didn't really feel like it was there. Like, okay, he wants to get in the mid-range shot. They were sitting on it. He wants to sort of step into some threes, but at the start, at least, it wasn't dropping. And then going to the basket, like, that last bit of explosiveness, like that going strong or elongating or like a little bit of change of pace to sort of burst and get separation at the rim. You just didn't quite see that. Again, you're playing a game against Shea, for example, and Shea's like the master at doing that. And these are wildly two different players. My point is, though, like Scotty struggled on offense and to create his own scoring, most importantly, in the first quarter and the second quarter, basically. But he did turn it around. And I actually saw the second half, outside of one play where, and again, like, this is really just nitpicking. But, when you're the franchise player, like, you got to lead by example kind of thing. Like, he loves to do the thing where he looks back at the defense as he's, breaking away for something on the fast break. And, he likes to look back at a guy, or sometimes he likes to slow up and wait for the guy to recover. But basically, just like little antics, you know what I mean? Like, basically like a showmanship kind of thing. And this time he looked back at the defense, and that prevented him from being able to dunk the ball cleanly. And he smoked the dunk. And meanwhile, the play went the other way, and OKC got a dunk going the other way. And it was a big momentum shifting play in that third quarter where, again, it's on the road. They were already down in the first place, and OKC is already a much better team than the Raptors. But small stuff like that is like, he just got to convert those, But ultimately, second half, he actually did a much better job. I thought he picked his spots better, was quicker with the mid-range. Because, like, look, it doesn't always have to be back a guy down and then, turn over the shoulder, fade away kind of thing. Sometimes it could just be come off the high pick and roll, they're dropping, and then just take one hard dribble and just go up because they're dropping again and they're, not respecting the shot. I like that he adjusted on that front. I like that, the other opportunities he went to the basket. It was just... Overall, 21 points is actually a pretty decent night for Scotty, and he was super aggressive in the other facets of the game. Like, he had 3 steals, 4 blocks. He was really trying to hustle. The Raptors really had a hard time guarding OKC, but at least at the start of the game, they had a decent strategy. Like, they were switching a lot with the starting lineup, and then they adjusted to, trapping Shea off every pick and roll. So they were really trying to limit Shea, who, by the way, is coming off of a 50-point game, which I think is his third 50-point game of the month. Is crazy. So, at least offensively, they were executing well, and Scotty was a big part of that. And especially when you're sort of trapping and rotating and scrambling, you need somebody to recover at the rim, most importantly. And to see Scotty come up with, again, 7 stocks is really, really good. And Scotty was the Raptors' best player in the night. So my point is, though, just like the first half kind of looked like, the struggles they had offensively against New York and against the Grizzlies. And I guess we never discussed those too much in depth because we were all worried about the trade deadline. So something bigger was at play, but I do want to see sort of that continued progress and sort of maturation as an offensive player, especially as a scorer. IQ, the other part too, is just like, look, IQ, it's great that he was able to play more and more minutes. I remember when he first came back, he only played 15 and then 17 and then 20. And now he's at 28 here, which is great. That's the most minutes he's played, and he continues to ramp up more physically. And tonight, this is, again, the most minutes he was able to play. At the same time, though, like, he continues to look kind of just like off in terms of like the impact on the offensive end. We know what he's capable of, right? Like the first game where he returned back, that was against Brooklyn. Whatever, it was Brooklyn, but still, like, he had an electric fourth quarter and he was making every play and he looked so confident and he was attacking and he was setting guys up. It was just very, very different as compared to the quickly that's come back since the latest injury. Now, granted, of course, he's coming off of injury, so I'm not sort of like trying to push him along. My point is just that, like, yeah, the last couple of games he's just been really quiet, like 28 minutes for quick, and he only shoots 5 times. I know he had 10 assists, but he just didn't really, have a command over this game and have a presence in this game. Like it felt like OKC was certainly able to attack him defensively, and he was either giving up fouls or it was, struggling sort of to stick in front of some of his guys. Of course, like competing physically is not the thing that he's mostly known for, right? But still. It didn't feel like he was a plus on defense. And then on offense, the 10 assists is nice. I'm sure if we break it down, like there are some pretty good ones in there. But ultimately, there are some costly turnovers as well. Like even as a point guard for himself, like he'd be mad that he had 5 turnovers, for example. Some of them were pretty costly. Like one where he had Isaiah Hartenstein, his former teammate from New York, one-on-one. And instead of, stringing him out and getting the spacing right, he drove into a double team, which only takes an advantage that he has into a disadvantage for himself and then turns it over trying to pass out of that double team. And OKC goes the other way for a dunk. Again, those little momentum plays. It's just like that with Scottie looking back at the defense and breaking the dunk. Can't have those, especially as some leaders of the team who really need to run the offense as efficiently as possible. The two of those guys with 10 turnovers. Now, granted, OKC is amazing at forcing turnovers, but still, the Raptors, as the rest of the team, actually did a great job protecting the ball. Like the Raptors, the rest of the teammates only had 2 total, and the two leaders of the team give you 10 turnovers. Like at some point, like you needed better from those two guys. And so I am looking for something in these games. Once again, the Raptors go back to basically tanking, and we will see obviously a lot more losses, especially in the month of February where their schedule is tough. But still, in those games, I still want to see some meaningful improvements, and especially I think from IQ and Scottie, because these are going to be, big pieces of the Raptors are going to feature quite a bit, and I need to see not only just them find their own game, but find the games off of each other and stuff like that. I did promise one positive, and I think the positive for me was just seeing the young guys continue to sort of go out there and scrap and compete. Gradey Dick got a lot of his offense late, but he was playing hard all night, man. The guy got 3 offensive rebounds, which was the most on the Raptors, tied with Orlando Robinson, but Orlando's a big, and Grady's like crashing the glass, following up his own shots, and, throwing his body around, trying to take charges, all that kind of stuff. But going aggressive to the basket too, some really impressive finishes for him. Super aggressive from 3. Again, the OKC Thunder are smart. They're running him off the 3-point line, but he was able to use fakes like an up fake to draw a flying closeout and then sidestep, calmly knock down the 3. You also see him driving closeouts and making the next play as well. He only had 1 assist, but I thought he actually did a good job of keeping the offense moving. So 17 points for Gradey, 7 rebounds, 5 of 9 shooting in 27 minutes. Is a really, really good night for what Gradey does. And, it's one of the reasons why he's going to be at All-Star Weekend next week. And one of only 2 Raptors representatives, the other one obviously being AJ Lawson, who's going to be in the G League next up game. But like still, Gradey has been one of the positives of the season. I know his performances have dipped recently, especially when, more starters come back. It feels like he lowers himself on the priority list, but I thought he played a really well-rounded game tonight. I actually really liked the game too from, all 4 of the rookies that checked in tonight. Like the Raptors have this rookie class here that has really given you promise for the future, but Jamal Shead, Jacoby Walter, Jamison Battle, and Jonathan Mobo, they all played well. Like Mobo, I mean, he was 2 of 2 from 3, calmly knocked down and confidently took 2 corner 3s, switched them both. It's still a work in progress. Like I'm telling you from the warm-up reports that like he will still have some pretty inconsistent results even when they're left open. But I think like the fact that he's so willing to already shoot them now, the fact that there's not a hesitation, before sometimes he would catch the ball on the wing and he's open for 3 and you'll try to go into a crossover or something and try to drive. And the defense is like, we're only half closing out to you, so you're not getting a step on me. Like, the fact that he's now willing to shoot that 3, the fact that he was able to go down to the G League and really, really rep it out, that's really good. And I was really happy to see him knock down to 2 threes. If he had a tough night tonight having to switch against basically everybody, but also guard against players bigger than him. But that's just going to be the challenge for a lot of the rest of the season. And developmentally, I'm actually really happy with what Mobile did tonight. 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, a little bit of everything, knocked down 2 threes. Jamal just continues to play with great heart and energy, knock down the 3s, very confident with those. Defensively, which he's usually great at, but guys were just shooting over the top of him. Wasn't too much for him to do on that front, unfortunately. But some wicked assists towards the end of the game. Jacoby Walter was solid throughout the game. I mean, he's the only Raptor that was actually a positive. I mean, the Raptors lost by 12 tonight. He was actually a positive. He was a +3 with 12 points off the bench. confidently knocked down a three, 2 of 5 from three, finishing through traffic in the lane, knowing when to take a mid-range shot. He just reads the game at an impressive level and doesn't rush for a rookie. And then JMO, who came in the game, or Jamison Battle, who comes into the game late, knocks down 2 threes, and it's just that reliability factor with him. So, towards the end of the game, it was actually Gradey, Battle, Shed, Mobo, and Walter, who were 5 players who featured for the Raptors in Summer League. And then also on the other side, it was Brandon Carlson, who was also with the Raptors in Summer League. He got cut because the Raptors ultimately needed a bigger body and they needed a center because Kelly Olynyk was injured at the start of the season. So the Raptors kept Bruno Fernando instead of Brandon Carlson. Carlson actually went to OKC like right away, and he's been there the whole season. I think he's been converted to a two-way as well. So I'm happy that Brandon was able to land somewhere. But the fact that on the floor at once was 6 players from the Raptors Summer League team, I think, look, more than anything else, it's garbage time. So I'm not trying to gas it up, but it does show you once again that the Raptors have done a really good job with the draft class last year. And hopefully they're able to develop, because now they have this 2 timelines thing. They got with Ingram and the other guys, they have all these established starters, but they also have this young crop. So yeah, they lost to OKC tonight. We didn't expect anything different, but it was actually a pretty fun night overall. And yeah, that's all I have on the game, really. So let's do what everyone wants to do, which is talk about Brandon Ingram. And let's bring in my co-host, Alex Wong, here. What's going on, bro?
Yo, what's going on, dog? People in the chat are very excited to see your Liverpool shirt.
Hey, what's going on, man? Liverpool. Actually, I was going to debut a West Ham kit that I've been recently gifted. But
are you allowed to wear other kits? You're like a big loyal supporter, man.
I mean, I'm a very loyal supporter, but also at the same time, I'm not a hater of other clubs. Like, obviously I'm not going to wear a United kit. I'm not going to wear a City kit. I'm not gonna
Is
wear
West Ham like wearing like a Portland Trailblazers jersey? Like it's harmless?
Yeah, like they don't really have any active beefs at all with Liverpool. They're not contending with them in any competitions. They're just also in the league. Yeah, I guess it would be like would you rock like a Pistons jersey? Like, I guess you do actually. You actually go to sleep in basketball jerseys.
Yo, stop saying. Where was that going, man?
No, you do, because you wear a Mateen Cleaves all the time to bed, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You wear Mateen Cleaves like it's lingerie.
I actually don't know where that Mateen Cleaves jersey went. So if anybody finds it in Toronto, possibly between Queen and probably Queen and Ossington, let me know.
Goodness,
I don't know why
man.
it went missing. But yeah, Brandon Ingram, after the Raptors front office, stranded all the media members yesterday, Bobby Webster finally spoke today. Brandon Ingram popped out at the OKC shoot-around and spoke as well. And I know you have some additional big picture thoughts about the Brandon Ingram trade.
Yeah, I think especially after hearing Bobby Webster talk about the trade and the context around it and the reasons why, I think it makes complete sense as to why they did it. And there really shouldn't be that much confusion as to sort of the circumstances of the trade. So I think Bobby explained 3 key reasons why the Raptors made the trade for Brandon Ingram. Number one, the Raptors still clearly intend to tank this season. If you go back and listen to Bobby's presser, he mentioned the young guys are going to get minutes over and over again. And we know sort of what that means. We know that he said that we're going to pray to the lottery gods. We know exactly what's happening here. In fact, he actually argued as part of this trade, you're shipping out 2 vets in Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk. And of course, those minutes are now going to go back to the young players who had them to start the season. So we know that this is not going to derail what the Raptors want to do tanking-wise this season. He can't say that explicitly, but we know that this trade, especially with Ingram continuing to be injured with an ankle injury, they can take their time with that, and the Raptors can continue sort of down this path of collecting lottery picks. The other reason, number 2, is that, look, the Raptors and Ingram kind of already have mutual interest on a deal, right? Like, we know this. Before you trade for a player like this, you know that you have already got a chance to settle in and try to convince that player to stay. The fact that Brandon Ingram waived the trade kicker in his contract is a clear sign that he wanted to come to Toronto. And the Raptors, you got to give the front office enough trust to know that they've done their due diligence, not just in their interest in re-signing, but also in the idea of what is that actual number look like. Like from the information that I've been gathering, I think it's not going to be a max contract. It's not going to be like for the full number, which I think is like 50. Like, it's not going to be like that. It'll probably start somewhere closer to his current deal, maybe escalating up to 40 or maybe starting at 40, but it's not going to be the full max. And quite frankly, the Raptors actually have a chance here to extend him before he hits free agency. So it's more of a one-on-one negotiation rather than like, I guess everyone gets to sort of jump in here. So if I had to guess, it'll probably be something roughly like 3 years, 120, something like that. Like, I think that's a pretty fair number for what Ingram is in this league, especially when healthy. And then I think the third thing is just, look, we've seen the last couple of games, right? Like, we've seen the whole season. The Raptors need some scores. Like, I think it was actually pretty funny to see Bobby spell it out when he said, Scotty wants to pass, Ingram wants to score. And I think that, like, more than anything else, we're kind of continuing to see the Raptors just stockpile assets here. If I had to tell you that you are getting a player who has the ability to score with the likes of Ingram, who, by the way, in a game like this, could really give you that secondary punch that the Raptors were missing in most of the games that they play, quite frankly. And it costs you one future first-round pick that's not even your own, that belongs to a pretty good team in Indiana. Like, you do that deal. Like, it doesn't cost you much beyond that. I mean, you weren't going to do much with Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk. So, yeah, I think, like, once you actually listened to the press conference and heard the front office talk about this whole situation, like, it just, I don't know. Like, is it confusing to you, I guess, especially with those things explained by Bobby now?
No, I don't think so. I think, all the points you made are valid. I think the Raptors are in a position right now where they need to continue to add talent.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as like you want to criticize or look at what Brandon Ingram's offensive game might look like, might fit with the rest of the team, I think he's adding a clear need here. And I think if you look at the collection of talent that is here, and you assume obviously they add the number 1 pick this coming draft, or I still think they might trade it for something, maybe another win now piece. Like, I'm excited to see what this team will look like next year. And I think people are just really scared of the Raptors just getting in a position where they're just like become like the next Chicago Bulls or whatever it is, like just constantly stuck in the play-in.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they're building enough talent here that there's enough upside, and this is not the final product of the team. They're going to see what this team looks like, and there's going to be more moves coming. But if anything, I think like the Raptors is just in a position where they've got to hit on their next like 3 moves, whatever those are, like the draft pick,
right?
What that next big trade might be if they're looking for another big trade,
Mm-hmm.
or if they're gonna bring in anybody for your free agency, like ever. Like, it's really important what those next couple moves are gonna be, because I think if they hit on those moves, if all the bets that they've made on these players right now, like IQ, like Scotty, and Brandon Ingram hit, then you have a scenario where you can start looking towards building like a sustainable winner. And like, nobody knows, like none of us know how this is going to look like until we get to see it, is the other thing too, right? So again, it has to be another wait and see approach, but I totally get the Brandon Ingram addition. And he's wearing number 3. Early nickname is I saw the notorious BI3. I'm lukewarm on that right now.
Okay. That's kind of fire, no?
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I'm just a big hater at my big age.
That's
like
fine.
I see any nickname and I'm like, yeah, that sucks. But I could warm myself up to Notorious BI3 if you're with it.
I don't mind it. I think look, there is a certain swagger that comes with sort of a guy who plays like the way Ingram does. Like, we should anticipate the fact that, look, we have not had a pure score like this in a while, man. And I know that, like, this is almost venturing into like the ball don't stop territory of like who you are the one at the right elbow, who you are with the 1 dribble pull up, who you are with the 2 dribble pull up. But like, I mean, I think sometimes we can just sit back and enjoy some buckets, especially on a team that, quite frankly, is like a little bucketless. Like, I don't want to, like, the Raptors play hard, they move the ball, they share it. It's great fundamentals. You know what I mean? But sometimes you're in gym class and you have to guard like Zion Williamson or LeBron, and he's not like that, but I'm just saying, like, he's got tremendous skill to score the ball. And again, yes, the Raptors are rebuilding, and this is just one piece, and Bobby did caution that as well. But also at the same time, I think about it, it's like, look, it's like if you're saving for a house in Toronto, which I think most people are in a similar predicament, and most people won't actually reach that goal. But let's say you're just saving, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to keep it tight for a while. That doesn't mean that you don't like take a good deal when it's there. You know what I mean? Like, you see a situation in New Orleans where they're probably not going to bring him back because their team is pretty loaded as it is in terms of the salary. The team wasn't succeeding and it wasn't really working around him. And so you jump in and the market wasn't that hot. I think the one way to compare it to is like when you compare it to all the other trades that were made, right? Like, what the Warriors gave up for Jimmy Butler, who is a much better player than Brandon Ingram and certainly more accomplished, but also he's 35. And you're giving a Wiggins, who's a pretty good player in his own right, not as good as either of these two players, but a still pretty good player, And then you're also giving up a first round pick. Like it's, you look at the other trades that were made for star players. Like I don't know, like, is this not the lowest price that anybody paid for like an impact player? We can quibble about the title of a star, whatever, but it's a pretty low price. You know what I mean? Like, I think the only star that went for less maybe was Zach LaVine. And even that still cost De'Aaron Fox, who won for three firsts.
They essentially just gave up a first rounder, right? I mean, you can quibble with the other draft pick and all that stuff, but this price is pretty low. It is interesting to me too that my guy Bill Simmons and I think other people too are pretty down on this trade. I think he gave it like a D on this one because I think the general consensus of how people are looking inwards at the Raptors is just they don't understand why they've committed all of this money to all of these individual players.
Sure.
Like, I think there's a segment of basketball, like media or fans, that just feel like the Raptors have overpaid for a core group that is not that exciting to them. And I think that's a valid concern. I mean, we've seen a little bit of IQ so far. Like, we've committed to Scotty, and I think Scotty's been playing well for the most part this season. And now you're going to be committing this 9-figure deal to Brandon Ingram. And props on your reporting, confirmed by Brian Windhorst too on the Hoop Collective. He basically stopped short of saying that the deal was pretty much done. Okay. And it was going to be like 3 years, like a 9-figure deal. Yeah, like I think it's just the Raptors have a certain belief in these players that they have signed that they consider their core group, and they just have to be right about that. Because if they're not, then there will be the Bulls.
They do have to be right about that, and that's completely fair. It doesn't mean that they can't pivot off any money. Like, I think the only contract the Raptors will have a difficult time moving right now is just IQ. Sure. And I think that, like, part of that, the majority of that, is due to the injuries that he's suffered, but also because he's got like 4 more years on this deal. When he's healthy and playing the way we know he can play, I think is actually fair value. But still, like, I could see just based on the injury and the length of the contract, it might be hard to move him without sort of attaching more. But yeah, I mean, I think for the Raptors too, it's also important to consider that, like, look, the Raptors view cap space entirely differently. You have obviously 3 ways to improve your team in the NBA, right? You have the draft, you have free agency, and then you have trades. Based on the market that you're in and the situation that you're in, cap space can be more valuable. Like, for example, for the LA teams, or for New York, or for Brooklyn and Miami. Those teams, it's valuable to have cap space because they're destination markets and free agents often plan to go there. But we've actually heard Masai even say on paper, like on record, that he believes free agency is dead. But I think free agency has been dead for Toronto. Like, the biggest contract free agents that we've signed are like Damari Carroll and Hito Turkoglu. Even when the Raptors have a chance to sign a guy for big money in free agency, those have not gone well. So I think for the Raptors, what they like to do is, yes, they get pressed up to the cap. They operate above the cap, I think, in like 9 of their 10 seasons now, operating the team. Like, I think the only year they were below the cap was the year they signed Damari Carroll, and also Bismack Biyama, Corey Joseph. But, like, the Raptors want to have players on the roster, even if they take up money, because that's something to trade with. And that's the thing. The Raptors primarily draft and they trade. And they've done those things pretty well. When you go back and look at some of these things, like, it actually kind of bothers me that this idea that, like, has floated around so much of, like, oh, the Raptors have traded their first-round pick at 4 straight trade deadlines now. And it sounds on paper like, wow, the Raptors look like idiots. Why would you trade your first-round pick in 4 straight trade deadlines? Look, I think one of them was regrettable in the sense that the timing wasn't right. I mean, we like Jakob. Everyone likes Jakob. I think Jakob for a first-round pick is actually fair value for what Jakob is as a player, and you're able to re-sign him, and he's your only center, and he's a pretty good center. Of course, the timing of that you can quibble with. But, like, to sort of harp on this 4 years straight of trading a first round pick. I mean, again, you traded one first round pick that's Indiana's for Brandon Ingram, who's a very, very good player. Like, that is fair value, if not better than fair value. The last trade that they made, which was the 29th pick that they got as a bonus. I'm sorry, did you want to keep 6 rookies on the roster this year out of your 15 rostered players? Doesn't make any sense. Plus, they traded them for Ochai and Kelly, who were then obviously spun off into later assets. And Kelly and also Ochai, who I think has done pretty well as compared to, let's say, for example, if you just took Ochai with your 29th pick, you'd be pretty happy with that outcome. And then the first one they traded back like 10 spots. And look, even that one you can quibble with because you're like, well, you missed a chance, for example, to take a Nemhard, could have taken this guy or that guy. Walker Kessler gets mentioned. But like, you move back 10 spots. You know what I mean? Like, and the only reason that thing didn't work out is Christian Koloko got blood clots. Can you foresee this thing? So it sounds like a big gotcha when you're like, wow, the front office is dumb. They traded 4 straight first round picks at the trade deadline. But like, I think it's just like disingenuous. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the Raptors are using the trade deadline for pre-agency. And this is because no one signs here in real free agency. So like, how else do you want them to add talent to the team?
Yeah, and I think if you look at where the team was like a year ago after they shipped out Pascal and OG, like if you were to jump forward now, like a season later, and look at where they're at right now, like, you know, they've built up enough young talent that's interesting enough that I think is going to give them an opportunity to build a pretty solid bench unit. And with guys like still like Ulrich Chomche, who could figure into the longer part of the future in a way that, you know, it's not something that you need immediately. They've really upgraded their starting lineup. I think if you just look at it from a year before to now, like they probably accelerated the plans faster than people expected, but they're also just in a way better position. Like there's way worse scenarios that they could be in right now, i.e. having just like completely gotten nothing out of this previous draft and have no influx of talent coming in, like secondary level of talent. Have no outlook on what other talent you're adding to the starting lineup. So it's all of that stuff. Like I feel pretty good about it. And I just want to get to a point where I can watch this core group with Ingram in here now just play for an extended stretch and see what they can become.
Yeah.
Because like so much of this conversation starting with this season with IQ, Scotty, and RJ, and now with Ingram has just been hypothetical. And like this team has just been in flux and turned over for like the last like 2 seasons now. Like at some point I just want to see, and it's probably going to have to be the start of next season.
It's going to be the start of next season.
Yeah, I want to see what this team looks like. Because otherwise all of this is just us trying to break down and analyze a thing that we haven't seen yet.
Right. But again, like, I just don't want this thing to be seen as like Raps need to get the play in or else. Like, you know what I mean? They're just desperately trying to get like I don't think that's what's happening.
No, Bobby made that clear today. Like the rest of the season, they're punting the rest of the season. Yeah. And I guess since Sean Marks openly came out and said we're tanking, Bobby's like, yeah, I can say whatever I want. What are you gonna do? Fine me? Because I'm gonna snitch on Sean Marks then.
Because this is the type of guy I am. Like I obviously was at the press conference last night. We can sort of like, but like, so the funny thing was the press conference was supposed to happen last night. But the NBA process for the trade deadline, like the league office needs to approve of every trade call that comes in. So like there's a queue.
It's a queue. Yeah. You're like at a restaurant and you have to grab a number.
Right.
And because Jared Butler is getting traded to the Sixers, like you're number 19 on the phone call list.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's not as simple as like, okay, Shams tweets out the trade has happened. Like that's just the agreement. There's still the paperwork that literally needs to be pushed through. And so the Jimmy Butler trade was so large, and the Raptors did somehow squeak into that one with Davion Mitchell's. But like the Butler trade took so long to process and everything like that like it ultimately it helped. Like we were there. Like I was as a reporter, I was in the press room with like 20 other reporters, and it was scheduled for like 3:30, and we got up until 10 p.m. when they were like, guys, it's not happening tonight. Come back tomorrow. Like we were in there. Yeah, we got 2 meals. They got people were there since 1 p.m. People were doing the whole afternoon there. Getting lunch. They got dinner. They walked around. Some people went home, came back, took a nap. Like it still was crazy. Still didn't happen. But like Bobby spoke again this morning He spoke also on TSN and on Sportsnet. So I listened to all the interviews, and Bobby said on all 3 interviews, we need some luck from the lottery gods. Like, he can't make this more explicit without getting fined. Let's be real. So
he was very explicit in the presser with you guys about that. Like that the rest of the season is just about getting into the lottery and getting the highest possible picks. And I know we ran through this really quickly yesterday because like I know people love to bring up the easy schedule that is coming and all of this stuff, but we went through the tankathon yesterday, and right now the Raptors with where they are not really gonna make a move on like the Wizards or a couple other teams that are below them. So like as much as I know everybody wants the Raptors to get the highest odds, this recent streak of them winning like 8 out of 10 has bumped them up to where they're probably looking at the 5th or 6th best odds without much movement either way.
That's all the other part. Like there isn't much else to be done, right? Like I don't think that, like, I honestly, if you had to, make me guess, I think Brooklyn finishes below the Raptors. So I think the Raptors end up as the 6th lottery odds in that sense. But like, if you're, for example, if you're Cooper Flag and or if you really want Cooper Flag, like everyone does in the NBA, it's like a consensus number 1. If you're the 5th slot for the tanking odds, you are at 10.5% chance at Cooper Flag. And if you go down to 6, you're at 9% chance. We're talking about a 1.5 percentage point difference, man. Like, and there's like not much else that they can do. Like, I don't think that they're gonna go above Philadelphia. I don't think they're really gonna go above Chicago. Portland somehow played their way into like almost being 500, so like they're kind of out the picture now. So like it's just settle in, you know what I mean? Like this is kind of what the rest of the season is, and quite frankly, like Bobby spelled it out as clearly as possible. So I just don't want to. I don't really want to see as much like confusion about it. I mean, you can quibble with whether Ingram's the right player, and if that's the quality of a player that we need. That's a basketball conversation, but for like the basketball construction conversation right now, like there shouldn't be too much confusion after what he said.
Yeah, last thing on Brandon Ingram too. I know we noticed when he showed up at shoot around this morning. Our friend Michael Grange had a photo which showed. I didn't know Brandon Ingram had a Chinese neck tattoo.
Yes,
and I believe
me neither.
I believe it translates into the intention is just translated into gem, and we know sometimes with the Chinese translations on tattoos, like things can really go sideways. So I do actually need a more direct translation of the 2 Chinese characters on there.
Can we have?
I feel like it says rock stone or something. I don't know.
It definitely says stone in the second character. The first character is a little more complex.
The first one isn't Raphael then, yeah.
I doubt he has Raphael Stone tattooed on his neck. But I do, for a podcast that is run by 3 Chinese people, none of us can read that word, which is hilarious. So we're going to send it to Mainlander. Like, Jerome, can you please just send Jeremy a DM, please? And just like...
we'll see if we can get an answer.
To confirm, okay?
By the end of this, if we get an answer, Jerome, just feel free to just flash the answer on the screen. But it also
someone said it's Sharon Stone.
It's anytime any NBA players get a Chinese tattoo. If you were to ever get a Chinese character tattoo, like what would you have in mind, you think?
I think eventually when I have kids, like I would like to tattoo their Chinese names somewhere. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, that's really sweet. Oh, you're gonna have kids too, eh? Damn, man. Breaking.
I mean,
let's put a breaking news graphic on that.
Yo, people be putting that, they be abusing that breaking graphic, man.
Yo, Chris Haynes,
man, what kind Daniel Tice.
Chris Haynes, what kind of font was that? Somebody go on Chris Haynes' Twitter, man.
One of them just said news.
Look like the Brooklyn Nets Basquiat jerseys, man. Speaking of tattoos, many of you people probably know long-time Raptors fan Chris Wilder got a Raptors tattoo, which he showed off today as well. Just want to shout him out on that. We're showing this here for the audio only people listening to the podcast. We're showing it. The tattoo is a Raptors logo. Logo on the arm. Would you ever get a Raptors tattoo? And if you did, what would it be? What would the placement be? Or are you just gonna slap those tattoos on your future kids?
I mean, hey, listen. All due respect to
People in the chat are like, "Congrats on the baby." Will.
Yeah, there's no baby on the way yet. Okay, you will hear it here first. How about that? But
Yo, this guy's gonna break it on here. We gotta do a gender reveal.
it'll be the Axe Freshest play of the game.
Yo, we will cut open the Trey Young doll, and it'll be either blue or pink.
The gender reveal for Trey Young dolls is crazy.
Okay. So what's your Raptors tattoo and placement?
Yeah, with all due respect to our former coworker Chris Walder, because three of us all worked with Walder at the Score. Well, not the three of us, the two of us. But yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm already a walking Raptors tattoo. Like when people look at me in the street, like sometimes I get recognized, and they'll be like, "Yo, Raptor guy," and they'll just yell at me like, "Yo, what do you think of the Ingram trade?" And I'm like, "Okay, am I just a walking Raptor logo?"
You should tattoo yourself on yourself. Yeah, that's like in a Raptors jersey.
What am I, A-Rod? I can't do that.
It's almost like I'm getting Will on one cheek, Alex on the other. What's going on a Friday night, man? Holy. Shouts to the chat, man. What are you guys doing? All right, yeah, that's enough Brandon Ingram. Did you need to take a couple questions here?
Let's take a couple questions because we always love getting the feedback from our live audience. And of course, it is time now for the Tangerine fan inbox, and we'll let you know that Tangerine is the official bank of the Toronto Raptors, foundational partner of WNBA Canada and NBA Canada. And of course, they're not just fans of basketball, they're fans of basketball. They're fans of fans like Chris Walder, who got that Raptor logo tattooed on yourself. I could never go there, but Chris, we know where your loyalties lie. Or fans who stand 5 inches from the TV all night, or fans who can recreate every player's layup package while sitting on the couch. And if you're hearing this, there's no doubting your commitment. Fans like you are at the heart of what makes this game great. So this year for the Raptors' 30th anniversary, Tangerine is turning the spotlight from the court to the stand, celebrating the way Raptor fans support their team, because this is how we fan. To learn more, visit tangerine.ca/basketball. Okay, Alex, what do we have for questions? What are the streets saying right now?
So Dara K says, if we re-sign Brandon Ingram and draft Cooper Flag, does that mean we should trade away RJ in the offseason?
Yeah, I actually do think that whichever player the Raptors end up bringing in through their first round pick, and hopefully it's Cooper Flag, but we know there's several talented players. Yeah, like I think that kind of like artificially bumps out, at least going forward, one of the current starters in place. I actually don't think that outside of Cooper, the rest of them may not start at least immediately for the Raptors. And that's not to sort of put down any of the other prospects, but like I think the Raptors do have the position now where they can sort of take it a little bit more slowly. But yeah, if for example they get Dylan Harper like I think the Raptors clearly have a point guard of the future there, and with all due respect to IQ, like I think Dylan Harper is like a more exciting prospect. Cooper Flag, with all due respect to RJ, who's been absolutely fantastic as a Raptor, even though he gets the Gary Trent Jr. treatment of like, we never mention you, you know what I mean? But we never push you for All-Star. We just, like, oh yeah, you led our team in scoring. Anyway, Scotty over here. But yeah, I mean, it just is what it is, you know what I mean? And you can't really quibble with it, you know what I mean? Like for example, like even when Scotty got drafted, like we all got mad at Kendrick Perkins because I think he was covering the draft, and he was like, "Well, you gotta say goodbye to Pascal Siakam, and also I'm the leader of OKC Thunder."
Oh yeah,
we could talk about that later too, but like yeah, like even though it didn't happen immediately, like over the course of time, that's ultimately the spot that he took up was Pascal's spot, and Pascal was our star player at the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and thank you Dara too for the $5. If anybody wants to match Robert Marash's $139 the other day, we are open for business. Let's see here. We were talking about Brandon Ingram nicknames earlier. So Slim Reefer is another nomination.
Hey, yo, that's crazy.
Where do you have that in the notorious BI3 rankings right
This is definitely better than the notorious BI3 right now, man. The thing is, the issue is we can't get Matt Devlin to say this on air. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He can't be like Reefer business. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He can't be like Slim Reefer smokes the defense.
You know what?
Slim Reefer gets up high. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he can't do that.
Listen, Devlin.
But I do love this nickname. Thank you.
Devlin's such a G that he could actually do it and get away with it, but he's too much of a pro that he wouldn't do it. I just wanted to clarify that. Like, Devlin could get away with in a second round series against the Sixers. Like, if Brandon Ingram hits the game-winning shot in Game 7, like, I think it could get a Slim Reefer.
He's like the Great Barrier Reef versus the Great Barrier Thief. No, I mean, I think Jack. Yeah, this is a good point made in the chat here. That Jack will say it for sure. He's talked about Ron Jeremy, for God's sakes. Which
sure.
I think what was so funny about that moment. Actually, that moment somehow washed up on my timeline again yesterday. But number one, I think Jack earnestly, like, just meant to say Ron Burgundy, and he said another name that I suppose is somewhat similar to that. Matt's laughing over the whole thing is so good. Like, he literally is just inhaling helium with every
He's literally
gasp.
squealing. Yeah, he's squealing. Yeah.
I also realized that the crowd was empty for the game, and I'm like, wait, that's a little weird. That was the game where, if you remember, the Raptors were playing the Pacers. They were washing the Pacers, and then there was a fire in the building.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember being at that game. You had taken that one game off.
I did,
And I remember going there, and we were sitting up in the 600 level in the radio booth at the time. And I remember looking over and just seeing a fire.
Yeah.
And just kept going on and eating my sandwich or whatever.
You were like, that Shanghai 360 is so good.
That was a really fun night because the game ended up taking in real time, probably like 4 hours. Because they had the stoppage, right? And then they started it again. So
hold on a minute, player.
Whoa, we can do drops now.
Oh yeah, so we have this the translation for Brandon Ingram's tattoo.
Boucher, gem. That makes sense.
And I think I saw this in the chat too. Grant in the chat has been chiming in. I guess it translates directly to precious stone.
Yeah.
Like that's what.
But I guess
but Brandon Ingram means for it to be gem. Thank you to the one man crack research team, Jerome, for
wow.
Yo, play Jerome if you're there. Play that drop again.
Hold on a minute, player.
That's so good, man. Holy, we should have had that for the trade deadline yesterday. Like, hold on a minute, player. Patrick Baldwin has been traded.
Oh man, we got our own. We got the second coming of Precious.
Oh my God! So yeah, Brandon 28 grams has been mentioned as a nickname.
I mean,
I'm gonna go. Slim Reefer is pretty good. Yeah.
Slim Reefer is sick, bro. Because it's also the Slim Reaper tie-in. His game is like stylistically like a KD. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
It's actually kind of perfect.
I want to see some Brandon Ingram and Chris Boucher, man. We need Chris Boucher to be back next season. The thing is, we're gonna have now until wait. So do you think Brandon Ingram's gonna play at all the rest of the season?
I think that they should at least get him a debut before they extend him for 9 figures. Even though I think it will be a good deal, but like still,
Yeah. I feel like they give him a little run and then just shut him down. I guess something like that.
Yeah.
Someone
asked, do you still have the Adam Silver? I'm enjoying all the banter.
You know what? I'm gonna have to ask former producer Derek Brandale if we have the rights to that.
Yeah, as you know, we didn't own the IP of our previous show, so we would need to sort of like ask our previous producer.
Yeah, or
all love to Derek Brandale, bro. He's one of the best people I've ever worked with.
Or since we're gonna be at All Star next week, maybe you can ask Adam Silver. Hey, Adam, I know you're getting 19 questions right now from Sam Amick, Howard Beck, and all these serious journalists.
They're like, "Hey, do you really want to cut the game to 10-minute quarters?" And I'm like, "Yo, can you just say that you're enjoying all the banter, please?"
Yeah. And you, by the way, you mentioned earlier that 2 Raptors are going to be at the at All Star. Thanks for letting me know about AJ Lawson. Appearance at All Star. Okay. Appreciate it. No, I really appreciate it.
You know what, man? Technically, I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah.
3 Raptors will be at All Star.
Is this a Norman Powell reference?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. Although it's great that Norm's in a 3-point contest.
Yeah, that's what I was setting up. Who's the 3rd Raptor?
The 3rd Raptor is Mariah Amber, who is the in-arena host for the Toronto Raptors. She'll actually be one of the hosts for Saturday night. So
Oh
shout
man, shouts
Three.
to Mariah, man.
Yeah,
Damn.
Wanj.
What? Oh, that is a big wonch, man.
That's a big Wanj, man.
How do
Come
we
on
get
now.
to that level, man? I wish me and you could like judge the dunk contest or something. the NBA, the NBA All-Star game would have to be like in China, and mad people would have to get. Actually, no, this is getting bad. Okay.
Even in China, we can't judge this game, man. It better be in Ontario. Like,
All right, let's see what else there is. Oh yeah, wanted to let's see here. So OKC tonight. I know you mentioned earlier the Raptors were 18.5-point underdogs tonight. What I did was I adjusted the spread and took the Raptors at 24.5 points.
That's
and let me
insane.
tell you, it was a battle like Jameson, but we got there. So it was a nice bet. But OKC, they've been at the top of the standings in the West all season. We know the Lakers made some moves. We know Denver's still there. Right now, they're still the favorite on Betway to win the West, 2.10 odd. Are you still backing OKC to win the West?
You know, the only thing I concerned me a little bit was, and this could just be a one-off, but it reminded me a little bit of last year's playoffs where Raps were like, okay, yeah, we'll just trap Shea. We'll double team him. You work any pick and roll, we'll double team you hard, force you to get rid of the ball. And yeah, sometimes he might wiggle free because he's amazing, but most times he's going to make the right basketball play, which is to swing the ball. And a lot of the times that results in like an open three for somebody that the Raptors are more or less willing to have them take threes. And early in the game, it was Caruso. He knocked them down, so that was good. But there was also a long stretch in the game where it was just like Jalen Williams, the Asian one, was just bricking threes. And then Kenrich Williams was also bricking threes. And maybe these guys don't probably play, especially Jalen Williams. But like, it still does feel like the strategy will be like hard trap Shea as much as possible and then just rely on some like inconsistent 3-point shooting. Having said that, though, like this is still the deepest team in the Western Conference. This is a team that's far and away above the rest of the pack regular season wise. They'll have the best, I think probably just the best road to getting into a deep playoff run here. So I'll still back them to win it, but I don't know, man. If they run into LeBron and Luka, like, you know, we'll see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it will shock you that I've got the Lakers to win the West now. So Lakers.
What? I thought you were a Clipper fan. How could you do this to Toom?
Lakers and Clippers in the conference finals. The matchup that we never got. Lakers are 8-1 right now on Betway to win the West. Denver is 7.5-1. So yeah, no, I don't. I love OKC. Great team. Just don't see it, man, for the playoffs. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a Shea IG caption hater, but
wow.
I guess I can envision Mark Williams hoisting the Larry OB in a few months.
You're like, who is that?
Yeah. So there we go.
Also, how many players in the NBA are named Williams with their last name, and how many players in the NBA are named Jalen with their first name? Because Jalen Williams is like the perfect intersection of the two most popular names in the NBA.
Yeah. No, that's a good call. Yeah, I've heard people call it the Norm episode a pump fake again. Norm was announced tonight is gonna be in the 3-point shootout. Actually, really excited about that. I'm excited for the 3-point shootout every year. So they've got a good lineup. Dame's in there too. Buddy Hield, Jalen Brunson. It's gonna be... Yo, this soundboard is gonna change the dynamic of the show.
The Teddy Long soundboard is so good, man.
You will go one-on-one with The Undertaker!
Yo, we need a catchphrase like that because I think the key is just to be a human drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, forget tattooing the Raptors on me. Like, you know, I guess hello and welcome is that, and I guess we turned into name of our show. Never mind. That's basically our Teddy Long of like, yo.
But we need something
going one-on-one with the Undertaker.
We need something spicier, so we'll work on that.
Okay.
All right, let's take a break, and then you've got other stuff to wrap up.
Let's do it. Let's get back to this game. But yeah, I got all my thoughts out on Brandon Ingram, and you know, we'll just pivot to the rest of this tanking ass season. But let's take this quick break. It's the 30th anniversary, and our friends at Axe are joining the celebration with a limited edition collection that's as original as the Toronto Raptors themselves.
The collection includes 3 essentials to keeping you fresh: The body spray features 48-hour high-definition scent, blending sea mist and grapefruit to keep you unstoppable throughout the day. The deodorant stick is perfect for staying confident, with a scent that keeps you smelling irresistible while showing your Raptors pride. And the body wash delivers a luxurious lather that leaves you feeling clean and smelling astonishing after every shower.
For over 40 years, Axe has drawn on body spray research and the expertise of the world's leading perfumers to craft quality fragrances and help people feel confident in their own skin.
Find the Axe Toronto Raptors 30th Anniversary Limited Edition collection at all major retailers, Walmart, Shoppers Drug Mart, and Real Canadian Superstore. But act fast because it's only available for a limited time.
Celebrate the milestone with Axe and the Toronto Raptors. Channel the freshness, energy, and unstoppable spirit of our local champions, because smelling great is always a slam dunk.
Someone said, man, Tangerine, these guys don't care about the fans because they haven't released the Norm episode.
Yo, what were you doing, man? Let me get to this Axe Freshest play of the game, man. Come on, man. Let's get this ISO going. Okay, it is time now for the Freshest play of the game presented by Axe. And honestly, I was really racking my brain for this one, and it took me until the final buzzer to figure this one out. The play is actually two plays, back-to-back plays where Jamal Shead was able to drive, collapse the defense, and kick it out to Jamison Battle. And both times, Jamison Battle was able to swish it for three. The reason I wanted to give this to Jamison, and the reason for me was the Freshest, because he's got to be feeling real fresh today, right? Because if you haven't heard the news, Jamison Battle has been officially converted from a two-way contract now to a standard 3-year contract. I'm so happy for him because he's basically signed every type of contract possible this season. I mean, if you look at the last 8 months for Jamison Battle, he goes undrafted. He signs an Exhibit 10 to get an invite to training camp and then also to Summer League. He comes off the bench in Summer League. We were all like wondering, who is this guy? What's, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on here? We were making like the Wire references with like Jamison and Battle and McNulty and things like that. You know, he goes from that to then going into training camp. He does a really good job, and to the point where it's like, you know what, in preseason, we're trying to decide who to keep. They ultimately actually gave up Brandon Carlson so that they can keep Jamison Battle. So Jamison Battle's now on a two-way contract. Then, early in the season, because the Raptors are so banged up, he starts playing from day one. And what he's done all season, really, is shoot the three at a really high clip. Now, of course, that's the main thing that he needs to do, and he's clearly a specialist. But like, he leads all rookies right now in three-point percentage. And because of the way he's played, and also because of the fact that the Raptors have had this inconsistent roster where guys are in and guys are out, he's had to go down to the G League, but he's come back. That's what happens on a two-way. But especially now with the trade deadline come and gone, the Raptors actually open up more roster spots. They're finally able to give him a proper NBA contract. And so I got to salute to Jamison Battle, who continues to just knock down threes. He's your Freshest play of the game presented by Axe, but also I'm really happy for him, and it's really, really well deserved. It's a really good job on the organization as a whole to be able to identify very underrated talents. Like, you didn't hear nobody talk about Jamison Battle, quite frankly, with all due respect. And now people are gonna, league wide are starting to figure out like, who is this guy. But for Raptor fans, he's actually already done a great job winning over our hearts. So congrats to Jamison and the entire Battle family. Yeah. What's going on, man?
Yeah, no, great story. Jamison Battle. No, it's always cool. I remember seeing him in Summer League when we were there, and then seeing him earn this contract. Love these types of stories. So very happy.
Yeah, you and I were at the casino. Remember, we were in the cabanas in Vegas.
Yeah,
and we were like, "Yo, Alex, who's impressed you?" And you were on Jamison Battle like right away. Like I was a Shed head, and then you were a Battle.
Yeah,
ship.
I mean, I don't know.
know.
Yeah, I don't want to take credit, but I was on Jamal Shead and Jamison Battle early. Yeah.
Oh yes,
maybe because I had 10 drinks with the Raptors executive.
Yo, stop doxing our quotes, our sources, man. You and I both got sources, but we got to say who they are.
I don't care, man. We'll burn this whole thing down, man. Yeah. Well, let me back at practice.
We'll see you down there eventually.
Actually, don't.
We'll see you in Philadelphia though next week.
Yeah, we'll be in Philadelphia. We'll be at All Star, so super excited about that.
You definitely sound like it, man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do your 3 stars, man. Jerome, play one of those sound bites, man. Holy. We need to wrap it up.
Hold on a minute, player.
Okay, your 3 stars from tonight's performance. I mean, a lot of this came late, but I'll give Gradey the first star. 17 points, 7 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds. I just like the way he sacrificed his body, played hard, was aggressive on offense, but didn't really take that many bad shots. Like the first shot of the game was a pretty bad one, but after that, he did a really good job in this one. So shouts to Gradey Dick. He's your first star. Your second star, I'm going to give that to... Jacoby Walter. Once again, he's in a really good stretch here, man. 12 points for Jacoby off the bench, 5 of 9 shooting, 2 of 5. Look, I just like the Raptors shooting guards. What can I say? They both played a really good game. Pretty much identical games, actually, the two of those guys. Those are your 1 and 2. And then your third star is Chris Boucher, who had 11 points in 15 minutes off the bench, knocked down 3 threes, took 7, which the Raptors really needed because the Raptors were really only in this game to start because they were bombing away from 3. But big shots to Chris Boucher. You know, if Chris Boucher gets into 3 more games this season, and there are 30 more games, so obviously he's going to get in 3 more games. With 3 more games played, Chris Boucher will tie Vince Carter in games played as a Raptor. That's like unbelievable. If somebody told you when the Raptors first signed Chris Boucher, who kind of was the original Jameson battle when it comes to sort of like this like very convoluted path to getting to the Raptors and earning his way in there. If someone told you that Chris Boucher was going to be playing as many games and likely more games in franchise history than Vince Carter, you would not have believed it. In fact, if Chris Boucher is actually a semi-regular player who plays in the rotation, which obviously he's good enough to do so this year, he might even finish in the top 10 by season's end in games played. Right now, tied for 10th is 417 games played for the Toronto Raptors, with both Fred VanVleet and Alvin Williams, 2 point guards for the Raptors. Chris Boucher, again, like if he just plays in like half the games the rest of the way this season, will have played in top 10 in terms of like most games played for Chris. So congrats to Chris on 400 games as a Raptor, and I can't believe that he's going to be playing more games as a Raptor than Vince Carter will be. Your Gerald Henderson Award winner, that's going to go... Who's that going to go to, man? Probably Alex Caruso. Yeah, he knocked out a bunch of shots early on. I don't know. Chet Holmgren blocked a bunch of shots, but, he's good. Like, that's Chet. Like, what can you expect? Aaron Wiggins also had a nice game. But let's give it to Alex Caruso. He's it's always kind of frustrates me when he knocks down shots. It reminds me of the play-in game against Chicago, so he just annoys me in general. Great player though. Great role player. And then yeah, that's it, right? Like any other things to touch on here, boys, before we wrap this thing up?
No, player, we're done, bro.
Okay, fair enough. We talked tattoos, we talked nicknames, we talked real trade stuff. We gave you a little bit of reporting. We gave you some jokes. We gave you some analysis. Like, we touched on every player on the roster. So thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this, please hit a like on the stream on your way out. Hit subscribe on the channel too. We've seen a lot of growth on this channel. Obviously, it's because of the trade deadline and there's a lot of interest in the team. But don't go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, just please don't go anywhere. That's the way to do that is by hitting subscribe.
We're gonna be on the road next week.
We're gonna be an all-star. We're gonna drop this freaking Norman Powell interview. Okay.
A lot of fun stuff in Philly. A lot of fun stuff at All Star. So just keep tuning in. Let people know about the show. We're growing and we want to continue to grow more powerful.
Okay, I guess we want to become more powerful. Is a great way to sell this thing.
Money, power, respect, man.
Yeah, MPJ.
Oh, is that a teaser? That's a teaser of the Norm clip.
No, okay, that's definitive proof. That's definitive proof that I talked to him.
What
that's
is that?
Me in the corner.
Wait, pull that up again. Is that a lightsaber in the corner about to chop off Jerome's camera that's recording?
Yeah. I interviewed him on the
Yo, this has been hyped up for so long. We legit need to do a behind the scenes of this. I guess we'll do it on the banter pod. Someone says it looks like AI. Yo, that's so good. Yeah, I swear to God, when the Norm drops, I want everybody to go in the comments of that YouTube video and be like, "Yo, I've been waiting 6 months for this." Yo, I want you guys to crash the comment section.
Yeah, you guys should bombard the comment section. Also, for people listening to this, so this is shameless. Yeah, we're at roughly 8.5 thousand subscribers on YouTube. Get this thing to 9, and we are instantly going to drop the Norm Powell interview. How about that? This is insane.
No, we're just gonna drop it.
No, we'll drop it
anyway.
next week. We'll drop it next week. But we would love to get it 9,000 next week too. That'd be nice too. But
yeah,
appreciate everyone for listening. This has been cool. Love hanging out with you guys. Raptors play again on Sunday. Why would they play the day of the Super Bowl?
You better be
bro?
quick on that one, man. I'm trying to enjoy my Super Bowl.
Ain't nobody trying to see Raptors Rockets on a Sunday, man.
We're taking one question. You got one fresh play of the game, and that's it, bro.
It's gonna be real quick, man. Be like, Fred VanVleet, actually he's not even healthy right now, so he probably won't even play. So
yeah,
anyway, I'll tell you now ahead of time. Your 3 starts for that game. Jacoby's gonna get it again. Scotty's gonna get it again. Jonathan Mobo, a huge game. Gerald Henderson for that game. Dylan Brooks cooked us with 45, and Raptors lose 98-86. And the Raptors then go all out as a team function to go watch the Super Bowl, and we get an open gym episode about it. Brandon Ingram lets off another Kawhi laugh. Thanks everyone for listening. This has been the Hello and Welcome Podcast. We'll catch you Sunday.